Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. Saturday night hangout. We're going to be trying to get to as many questions, start, sits, whatever you guys need for the evening. Looks like we got a handful of questions in here already. And then I went through and I kind of just rifled off a bunch of news here. So we're going to start with the first question here. This is from Justin. Good evening, man. Hope you're doing well. Kenny Gallaudet or Jaylen Waddle rest of season? Well, I kind of want to see what the offense for Miami looks like with Jacoby Brissett, because it looks like, they put Tua on IR for at least the next 3 weeks. So I think as of right now, I'm going to say Gallaudet because we did see him get the targets. Like, I know he hasn't produced yet, and I just think, especially in Atlanta this week, as long as Galladay's healthy, there's a good chance that he's going to eventually start making some big plays downfield. So I'm excited about the opportunity there for our guy Kenny Gallaudet. So rest of the season, I think I'll take Gallaudet. I know he doesn't have the highest floor. Waddle does present that, that safe PPR floor, but I think I'm going to take the upside of Gallaudet probably for the rest of the season. And I'm going to try a different format for the show tonight. We're going to do no screen share. I just want to be able to get to as many things as possible and just kind of continue to click through things. But I did post a bunch of news pieces in here. JaMycal Hasty's on IR. Antonio Brown's out for week 3. 49ers elevated Kerryon Johnson because it looks like our guy here, Elijah Mitchell, is doubtful. So I think Trey Sermon's going to be the primary back tomorrow, Sunday night, and then we'll see if Kerryon Johnson is the number 2. Not really sure how it's going to work just yet. The Saints elevated Kenny Stills to their active roster. Dolphins placed Tua on IR. T. Higgins got looked at today. He's listed as doubtful. Amari Cooper was not on the injury report, so all signs look good for Monday night. Devonta Smith or Ja'Marr Chase. So this one's interesting because, both guys are kind of, fringe wide receiver 3s at the moment right now. Ja'Marr Chase has scored back-to-back touchdowns in the last 2 games. Devonta Smith, he does get the easier matchup, though, going up against Dallas. So for me, this one kind of comes down to high risk, high reward. They're both rookies. They're both kind of hard to trust at the moment. And Ja'Marr Chase plays Pittsburgh, so that makes me a little hesitant. But I think with T. Higgins out, that makes me want to lean into that and go with Ja'Marr Chase. So I'm going to go with Chase in this situation. Zac Erz, he was on the COVID list all week, but it looks like he's gearing up to play on Monday Night Football. So if you need a tight end streamer, who knows? Maybe he gets 5-6 points. TJ Watt is not going to play. He's out for week 3. Tim Patrick was removed from the injury report, so that's good to see for the Broncos. And Melvin Gordon or James Robinson this week. So I kind of have this weird thing right now where with guys that we can't trust, I don't know what James Robinson's going to do with that Jacksonville offense. They do have another kind of tough matchup against Arizona, whereas Melvin Gordon's playing against the Jets. There's a really good opportunity for those guys to just get a handful of touchdowns. So I'm thinking Melvin Gordon is the safe play. I feel good about him getting 8 to 10 points regardless. Whereas James Robinson, man, like we just don't really know. And the problem that I see with Jacksonville is it's Arizona. Arizona's probably going to be able to put up points. So I don't know if we're going to see Jacksonville even. Last week they hung around with Denver, but Denver's not a team that's going to put up points in a hurry like Arizona can. So I'm just worried about the run game kind of being, disappearing really early. Whereas Melvin Gordon against the Jets, I think that's probably the safer play for me. So I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon. Ian Rappaport says Carson Wentz is expected to start tomorrow. So that's interesting. Calvin Ridley or Cooper Kupp this week. So the thing about that Tampa Bay defense is it's kind of a funnel defense. And we know teams aren't going to be able to run on them. We know that they can be passed on. So you have Calvin Ridley going up against the Giants. I think Calvin Ridley's probably a top 10 play, whereas I see Cooper Kupp more as a top 5 play. And just with Tampa Bay's pass rush, Cooper Kupp's ability to get open, he has that connection with Matt Stafford. So I think I'm going to roll with Cooper Kupp over Calvin Ridley this week. This one's fun. Daniel Jones and Justin Herbert. So Daniel Jones looked great last Thursday night. I think a lot of people did not expect that, and that was kind of refreshing to see Daniel Jones, perform well in prime time. So I feel like Daniel Jones is like a top 10, top 12 quarterback. But the big difference for me, and I'm looking forward on the fantasyfellowship.com, I'm looking for the total game lines here because I think the point total for Kansas City and the Chargers, that's the highest implied point total. There's 55.5 points in that one, whereas the Giants and Atlanta, that's 48.5. So they're saying there's going to be an extra touchdown scored in that Kansas City game. So I'm probably going to roll with Justin Herbert. In his past, he's done very well against Kansas City. I think twice last year he threw for over 300 yards. He threw for 4 touchdowns total. So I'm going to roll with Justin Herbert. It's kind of this, you can't sit your stud rule. So I think Justin Herbert's where my allegiance lies. This one's fun. Trey Sermon or Tyson Williams? So with Trey Sermon, he might be the only like active back on that roster that we can trust. Whereas Tyson Williams going up against Detroit, I kind of do. I appreciate the opportunity against Detroit. In that game, there's 49.5 implied point totals. Green Bay, there's 48.5. So it doesn't really matter which team gets more points. But the difference is the Ravens are expected to win by 9. The 49ers only expected to win by 4. So if they can develop Trey Sermon on the ground and get him rolling early, I think that looks pretty good for Sermon. But as far as just knowing what we've known the last 2 weeks, Tyson Williams, he's going to probably flirt with 8 to 12 carries. He's going to have a handful of catches. So I think Tyson Williams in a game where they're expected to win by 2 scores, I think that's probably the safe call there. And I like him to maybe get a touchdown this week. There's the Trey Sermon. He's been great all week. But again, it's kind of hard to just trust Trey Sermon blind without seeing anything through 2 games. Whereas Tyson Williams, we know what he can do already. I like the game script. I like the matchup for him against Detroit. Tevin Coleman's been ruled out week 3 against the Broncos. Derek Carr or Daniel Jones? So this one, I kind of like. This one, I like Daniel Jones more than Derek Carr. Miami still got a really good secondary. I know that, the Buffalo Bills just beat these guys 35-0 last week. But Miami, they at least have some good cornerbacks. I don't really know about their pass rush much, but I just think Daniel Jones matchup against the Atlanta Falcons seems to be pretty good. And it's at home for New York too, so I think Daniel Jones gets the first win of the year for the Giants. I'm going to say Daniel Jones here. Michael Carter or Ty Johnson? Give me the more talented player. And I think last week was a huge sign that Michael Carter, he's on the verge of maybe just taking over that backfield. Last week, he did get, I think he split like a 50-50 share with Ty Johnson, whereas week 1, it was mostly Ty Johnson and a little bit of Tevin Coleman. With Tevin Coleman out, they're both fringe, running back 2 flexes. I just think Michael Carter, we saw some of the highlights that he did last week. I think I'm excited about Michael Carter a little bit more. And Justin Herbert versus Kirk Cousins. That's a tough question. You guys know I'm a Kirk Cousins kind of believer just for fantasy. I don't really care for the actual, real life quarterback play. But I do like Kirk Cousins in a game against Seattle. It's a home game against Seattle, and there's going to be a ton of points in that one. But which with the health questions of Dalvin Cook, maybe Alexander Madison's the starter. If Cook was playing, I might say Cousins here, but just with the unknown, and even if he plays, is he 100%? Who knows? I think I'm going to say Justin Herbert here because it's going against Kansas City. There's going to be points needed in that game, and I can see Justin Herbert maybe whipping off 3 touchdowns or so. We got some names here. Antonio Gibson, Trey Sermon, or Tyson Williams. Start 1. It might be easy, but Gibson did. I'm going to trust Antonio Gibson. And here's kind of the thought basis is week 1. I just want to pull up his numbers because week 1, we got over 20 carries for Antonio Gibson. I'm just pulling these numbers up right now. So week 1, and against the Chargers defense too, keep that in mind. But he went 20 carries for 90 yards. He had 5 targets, 3 receptions for 18 yards in that game. So that game was a really close, tight game throughout the whole way. And he ends up getting the ball 23 times, whereas I guess he also got injured in that one with a shoulder injury. And then coming into a short week on Thursday night, I think that's why they kind of schemed the game to be more pass heavy and have J.D. McKissic step up a little bit more because he went down from 23 touches week 1 to just 15 in week 2, which is still quite a bit of touches. If you have a running back that's going to get 15 touches, you're going to put him in as a running back too. And I just think this week, kind of like how I feel about Saquon Barkley, these guys that get an extra 10 days rest, I'm going to be studying this, but guys that are playing on, coming off a Thursday night game, they get the extra few days rest and they play the next week. I think Antonio Gibson's probably the safest play here. I like the touches. I feel good about him getting a touchdown this week. And then what's more likely, Connor TD or Fields rushing TD? I'm going to go with the Justin Fields rushing TD because we've seen that already. We really haven't seen the Cardinals do anything with James Conner inside the 5-yard line, but I would say both of them feel really, really likely this week. I like both guys to score a rushing touchdown. Dressy Gamer, thanks for the question, man. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Which one should I start? Cortland Sutton, Chase Claypool, or Corey Davis? So I'm kind of nervous. I think it's easy for me to rule out Corey Davis. I don't think the Broncos are going to do what the Patriots do. Like the Patriots just have a thing about taking away a team's best player. So Corey Davis got the vice grips last week. But so I'm not too scared about him, but I don't feel as great either. So to me, it's between Cortland Sutton and probably Chase Claypool. And Roethlisberger has not looked good. I know he was on the injury report this week. Chase Claypool, though, without Deontay Johnson, that one does feel kind of good. But these guys are both really, really close. I think I'm going to say Cortland Sutton, though, against the Jets. I feel really good about that matchup. Cortland Sutton against the Jets. Give me some of that, please. Nick Chubb or Aaron Jones this week? This is a crazy question. Aaron Jones or Nick Chubb? I have to choose one of these guys. I feel really good about Nick Chubb finding the end zone this week, but I also feel really good about Aaron Jones doing the same thing. And then just assuming this is PPR, I'm gonna go with Aaron Jones because we can see that the upside is 4 touchdowns in that offense. So I'm gonna go with Aaron Jones. Robert Tonyan or Logan Thomas? So, Tunion's going to be touchdown dependent. We know that. Whereas Logan Thomas, he's been good the last, he scored week 1, week 2, he still got 9 points. So I think the safe and logical play is going to be Logan Thomas going up against the Buffalo Bills. I just want to double check and see how many points per game the Bills allow for tight end. So Buffalo so far this year, they've allowed 7 catches for 90 yards. So that's fine. If he gets half of that, that's basically 4 catches, 45 yards. That's 8.5 points. And then with Robert Tonyan going against the 49ers, the 49ers allowed 12 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. That was mostly to TJ Hawkinson. So I think both guys are good options, but I'm going to say the safer play is probably Logan Thomas, especially in that game where they're going against Buffalo. There's probably going to be more points needed in that game from Washington to win that game. So I'll say Logan Thomas. Hill or Devontae Adams? It's hard for me not to take Devontae Adams here, but I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. These are the top 2 receivers just in projections and lineups this week. There's more points in the Kansas City Charger game, so I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill in this one. But we're splitting hairs here. Those are the top 2 receivers this week. Michael Carter or Alexander Madison rest of season? I'm going to go with Michael Carter. And there's a reason for this. It's so like on a given week, like you could whip out Michael Carter any week and then maybe get 6 to 10 points. Alexander Madison, you only need, or I guess you can only have an injury to Cook to use Madison. So Michael Carter is going to have more use for you, whereas Dalvin Cook needs to be out for Madison to even be a thought in our lineup. So I'll say Michael Carter here. Mike Evans or Mike Williams, who has more upside for this week? I'm a huge Mike Williams guy. He's on a lot of my teams this year. I do like Mike Evans as well. So I guess when it comes down to it, they're kind of the same players in their offenses. I think I'm going to roll with Tom Brady, though. Mike Evans, Tom Brady. Give me that option there. I like Mike Williams a lot. I want to get both these guys in my lineups, but I'm going to say Mike Evans, especially because Antonio Brown's out. So that helps me kind of just roll with Mike a little bit here. Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, or Alexander Madison, non-PPR. So I think you have to start Joe Mixon for sure here. If I'm choosing two, I guess I would rank them as Mixon, and then if Cook is out, I'm going to say Madison, and then Fournette. Because it's non-PPR, Fournette's going to rack up some catches in there, so I don't really like that as much. It's also a tough matchup against the Rams. Whereas if Cook is out, I think Madison is probably a better play than Leonard Fournette. But Joe Mixon, I know it's the Steelers. The Steelers have their fair share of good running, defenders, but they still have, allowed a lot of yards and a lot of receptions here. Where I think Mixon can hit his floor. And because T. Higgins is out, maybe there's a little bit more emphasis on the run game, and it's a tough matchup. If the Bengals are going to win, they're going to need Joe Mixon. So I'll say Mixon here. Should I trade Antonio Brown away and get Melvin Gordon non-PPR? So non-PPR. So Harris, I'm interested. I would like to know, if you're still here with us, who are your running backs on your roster and who are your wide receivers? Because if I'm sending Antonio Brown, that's probably like your 4th or 5th best receiver, and you're getting Melvin Gordon, who might be your running back 3 or 4. I guess that information would help me kind of make a better play. Rest of season, I'd rather have Antonio Brown than Melvin Gordon. I think Javonte Williams is slowly. He looks better with the ball in his hand already, and I think that's just slowly going to be going more towards Javonte, whereas Antonio Brown, we know he looks good. He's the 3rd man in that offense, but he's still pretty useful. So James Zhao, thanks for hanging out. Even if Hopkins plays, should I put in Godwin? I don't know how well he can play with that rib injury, and if he goes out mid-game, he lose a ton of points, and he can also just play as a decoy. I think we're going to go Godwin. The thing about Hopkins too is like he only had 4 targets last week in a game that came to the wire. I know he was injured with the rib injury. I don't know when in that game, but only 4 targets. Like if he doesn't score that touchdown, it's not the best game out of DeAndre Hopkins. Whereas Chris Godwin and Tampa Bay, let me see the implied point total in that game real quick here. So Tampa Bay and the Rams, that's got the second most implied points for the week here. There's 55 total points in that one versus the Arizona game where they're projecting about 51.5. So there's more points in Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin. It's the Tom Brady effect. And then again, like if Hopkins re-injures that, or if he goes through the game and he takes one big hit and he can't go, I feel safe enough with Chris Godwin. I think Godwin's probably a top 15, top 12 receiver this week. DeAndre Swift or Tyson Williams. If this is PPR, I'm going to go with Swift. The upside of DeAndre Swift to score touchdowns, to rack up 5, 6, 7 catches. I like him in PPR. So if it's PPR, I'll go with Swift. Same question, but for Cook. Even if he does play, he can get injured again. So should I put Tyson or Damian Harris or just hope for Cook? Let me look up the times of these games real quick because I think that matters. I think the Seahawks-Vikings game is a late game, whereas Tyson plays at noon, and I think Harris plays at noon as well. So the likelihood that we're probably gonna be sitting around 11:30, and we're probably not gonna have any information on Dalvin Cook quite yet. So I'm just double checking here. Baltimore plays at noon, and New England Patriots play at noon as well. So this is the problem, with these 325 games. So Minnesota, Seattle plays at 325. We're not going to know if Cook's going to play. So you don't have James, do you have a backup plan for Madison? Like essentially you need another back at the 305 or the 325 slots. I'm talking in Central Time too, so I don't know if that's confusing, but for the late games, you need to have someone there with you to replace Cook. Otherwise, I think I kind of like the safe floor of a Tyson Williams here. He could be a top 20, a top end back there this week. So I kind of like Tyson Williams, but I'm going to rank them. I'm going to rank them Damian Williams or Damian Harris and then Tyson Williams. So otherwise, if you have an option, it's tough. We need an option for the 325 games. Running backs are Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson, Dave Montgomery, and Zach Moss. Yeah, I don't know if your team you got Eckler, Antonio Gibson, and David Montgomery. I don't know if Melvin Gordon's going to crack your top 3 backs anytime soon unless it's bye weeks. So I'm probably going to hold Antonio Brown. Your receivers here are Ayuk, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Mike Evans, and Adam Thielen. Yeah, I'm going to hold Antonio Brown because I don't see him cracking your top 3 running backs at all. And then just the opportunity for Javonte Williams to get more and more, opportunity down the season. I'm going to hold Antonio Brown. Freddie Swain, Quez Watkins, or Cedric Wilson? Deeps. Yeah, this is a fun question. I'm going to cross Cedric Wilson off, and it's between Freddie Swain or Quez Watkins. When it comes down to snaps, Quez Watkins is kind of the slot receiver. I'm probably going to go with Quez on Monday night. This one seems like a fun one in a game where there's going to be a lot of points. I like Freddie Swain, but you're kind of risking a 0 or getting the 60-yard touchdown. But Quez Watkins, he's involved in the game plan no matter what. So I'll go with Quez. Keegan, thanks for hanging out, my man. Pick 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 1 flex PPR. So Eckler, Mixon, that's Jonathan Taylor, that's Tyson Williams, that's probably Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, Cortland Sutton, Justin Jefferson, and so we need 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 1 flex. For the wide receivers, I think you're going to put Cooper and Jefferson in there for sure. Those guys are in prime positions this week. For the 2 running backs, Eckler's in there for sure. And then Jonathan Taylor against Tennessee or Joe Mixon. First of all, this is a great problem to have. You have a really good collection of players here. I really like this. So Eckler to me sticks out as the one running back that I like here. Assuming Carson Wentz is going to play, I think it might be Jonathan Taylor against Tennessee that I like quite a bit because it's a road game. The Colts are going to have to run the ball to stay in this game against the weak Titans defense. Mixon going up against Pittsburgh, I can kind of see that they're kind of a push, but I think I'm going to rank them as Eckler, Taylor, Mixon. I think that's how I would do it. And then Cooper, Jefferson are my top receivers here. And then, Allen Robinson with Justin Fields, I'm kind of excited about that, but he really hasn't really shown us that much to be excited about. And then you got Sutton there. And this is PPR here too. I think I might just roll out Eckler, Mixon, and Taylor, put whatever running back you want in the flex, and I'm going to roll out Cooper and Justin Jefferson here. But man, this is a tough question because I can see I really like Allen Robinson this week, but he's kind of lower on my totem pole here. So he's kind of the odd man out. I like Cortland Sutton a lot too, but I'm going to roll with Cooper, Jefferson, and then the 3 running backs. And then James says he's got Madison too. Oh, okay. So if you have Alexander Madison, I would just wait for Cook. I would wait for Cook, and if Cook is a go, you're going to play Cook, because if the thing is about Cook is he came back last week and he was able to finish that game, so that's why I kind of like waiting for Dalvin. You already have Alexander Madison in your back pocket, so I think waiting for Cook makes sense in your case here. And I appreciate you, Justin. That would be greatly appreciated. We also got a really nice new TikTok. If you guys are on TikTok, go check that out. I do a lot of quick hitting videos there, but I appreciate the likes and the subscriptions. That helps the channel grow. Harris says Mike Williams or Juju non-PPR. Non-PPR, I'm going to go with the upside of Big Mike here. Juju is more of a PPR guy for me. I don't really like his yards per catch kind of situation, whereas Mike Williams, and again, one of the things that I use to make decisions, especially when you're looking at receivers like this, and it's non-PPR, the Chiefs and the Chargers, that's got the most implied point total between the two teams of the week, whereas the Steelers, they're down here at 44 points for that game, whereas Chiefs-Chargers is 55.5. So there's almost 12 more points scored in that one, so I'll go with Mike Williams here. And yeah, the TikTok has been moving really quick. Chris, thanks for hanging out, my man. What do you think of this trade I got offered? He says Devonta Adams and Pittman Jr. for Tyreek and Juju. I got Mahomes, so I kind of like the stack. Appreciate the advice. I appreciate the question. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. And he does say it's full PPR. So what do you think of this trade he got offered? Devonta and Pittman Jr. for Tyreek and Juju. I think if I'm you, I want Tyreek and Juju because I like Pittman. But man, like Carson Wentz already got 2 bum ankle. Like Juju's more trustworthy in a full PPR league than Michael Pittman is. So I'm going to say go ahead and do it. I don't really see that much of a difference between Devonta Adams and Tyreek Hill. Like any given week, they're going to be the top scoring receiver. So as much as I like Devonta Adams, I think the ability to upgrade Pittman for Juju, that's kind of what seals it to me. So I'm going to say go ahead and do it. What do you guys think in the chat room? Would you guys do this? Would you rather have the Tyreek Juju side, or would you rather have the Devonta Pittman side? For me, I'm going to go with Tyreek and Juju. Gordon or Jamal Williams this week? I'll go Melvin Gordon in this one. I like the matchup there against the Jets. It's Denver's home opener. We'll go with that. I do like Jamal Williams, but again, like he's not an exciting play. He's going to get maybe 4 or 5 catches. He's going to have a low yards per carry, whereas Melvin Gordon at least has a chance to punch one in against the Jets. Who will have a better game, Brissett or the rookie on the Texans? I'm going to go with Brissett. He has experience. He only needs 1 touchdown really to match what Davis Mills did. And Brissett's got some legs. He likes to run, so it wouldn't surprise me if he pads his stat with like 20 or 30 rushing yards. I'm going to say Brissett's going to have more fantasy points than Davis Mills. Also, first TD being filled, scoring a rushing TD is 2,000. Whew, I like that one. I think we're probably going to see Justin Fields rush for a TD. So if you guys are into prop bets, that's a fun one right there. Trippy Philly, thanks for hanging out, my man. Tyler Boyd or Juju for wide receiver, and Gaskin or Sermon in flex. Non-PPR. So Boyd and Juju are both kind of, those PPR wide receivers, and it's kind of funny because like both guys have a fellow wide receiver missing this week. So Juju versus Tyler Boyd, we're kind of splitting hairs at the moment. So I think I'm going to roll with Juju just because it's a better matchup against Cincinnati. Whereas Tyler Boyd, a little bit tougher matchup against Pittsburgh. I'll go with Juju as the wide receiver here. And then for the running backs, I'm nervous about Miami. We got a good question there about Jacoby Brissett, but like I don't know what Miami Dolphin running back or wide receiver I can trust. So I'm gonna say Trey Sermon makes the most sense for me just because kind of he's the last man standing, and the Packers have been pretty generous against the running game of late. And then there's the Tyreek and the Juju. Juju, Najee, or Marquise for DFS. Um, I'm assuming Najee is probably the most expensive. And it depends on if this Harris, is this for the Yahoo? Is this for Yahoo DFS? Let me pull that up real quick. DFS, Yahoo DFS, Yahoo Fantasy Sports. Let's pull this up. I want to look at the prices. So I just want to look at the same thing you're looking at real quick. I'm just going to enter a contest real quick. They're all the same price. Interesting. In that case, give me Najee Harris because he's going to get the most touches between the two. He's a running back. I think he's going to be used as a receiver. I'll go with Najee Harris in this one. And we got another Tyreek and Juju. Luca, thanks for hanging out, my man. Need a flex. Full PPR, Sermon, C-Pat, Chark, Hardman, Van Jefferson. I'm going to cross off Hardman and Chark. Those guys, it's kind of just feast or famine with those guys. I don't really feel safe with it. The safest play is between Sermon and Cordero Patterson. I think both guys probably have 8 to 10 point floors. I'm not really sure what the passing game workload is going to be for Trey Sermon. So if it's full PPR, I'm kind of leaning towards C-Pat being the guy that I'm most interested in. I think he's kind of like a fringe top 30 back. But if you feel really good about Trey Sermon, that's what's hard about Sermon is we haven't seen it for 2 weeks. Whereas with Patterson, we've seen him get 8 points week 1. We've seen him get 23 week 2. So if you want to go with the safest play and you just want to make sure you lock in 8 to 10 points, it's Patterson. But if you're looking for someone with a little bit more juice and more ceiling, I would say Sermon. And I'm not going to risk running out the receivers. I like the receivers this week, but that's kind of more of like a huge dart throw where if you end up with 2 points, you're going to be disappointed. Whereas Sermon and Patterson, they're kind of guaranteed to get more points there. What is this? Or what's this question? GBMI or Minnesota MI? I'm not sure what we're asking here, Justin. Appreciate the advice. No problem, my man. What do you think of this one? I already accepted. Odell and C-Pat for James Robinson and Tyler Higbee. Down bad at running back. So you sent Odell and C-Pat for James Robinson and Tyler Higbee. And I'm assuming you probably needed a tight end too. So if Higbee's your starter, I'm fine with it. Odell, we just don't know what we're going to get. So that's kind of fine with me. You upgraded Cordero Patterson to James Robinson. Both guys are kind of 8 to 10 point floor week. So I'm fine with this. I think if you were to tell me who your tight end was before the trade, and if you inserted Tyler Higbee in, I feel pretty good about that. You bought in low on Tyler Higbee. Odell Beckham's fine, but are we just ever gonna trust him? I think the range of outcomes for Odell is just way too wide. So I think getting James Robinson again. When I play James Robinson, I just want 8 points at this point. If he gets a touchdown, that's a bonus. So James Robinson's just kind of a low end RB2. So I feel kind of good about this. They are all the same. Yeah, Najee Harris is the guy. Stephen Drakes, what's going on, man? I remember helping you out last year. I'm glad to have you back. Half PPR, he says, need one and a flex. Mike Davis, Trey Sermon, Tyson Williams, or James Robinson. So the guy I feel the greatest about is half PPR. I'm probably going to say Tyson Williams is probably the one guy. I really like that matchup against Detroit. He seems to be like a top 24 back this week. And then I'm thinking between Mike Davis has a really safe floor, but it doesn't feel exciting. Trey Sermon feels exciting this week. So I'm probably going to say if I had to rank these guys, I would say Tyson, Sermon, J-Rob, Mike Davis in terms of my excitement here. So I'm going to roll with Tyson and Sermon as the two options there. We got Aaron Jones, Zeke, and Barkley, and Jacobs in a 10-man league at running back. So we're stacked. Nice. Will J-Rob be a top 25 running back rest of the season? Let me look at the Jaguars schedule real quick. Because they've just been, given a pretty tough schedule. But the next 2 weeks, they get Cincinnati and the Titans. So things could turn around for James Robinson the next couple weeks. After those, they're going to get the Dolphins, the Seahawks, the Bills, the Colts. The schedule does get softer the rest of the way, so I think he is a top 25 running back. You just got to be patient. Eventually, he's going to score some touchdowns, but if you just you plug James Robinson and just once he hits 8 to 10 points, you're fine. Anything more than that is a bonus at this point, so he's a running back 2 for me at the moment. Najee Harris and Antonio Gibson, DFS. Gibson is $1 less. I'll go with Gibson. If he's one less dollar, you can use that somewhere else. I'll go with Gibson. I think I like the Washington football team's offense a little bit better than Steelers right now, and I think Gibson's going to be hot and fresh. So I'll go with Gibson here. Timofey, thanks for hanging out, my man. James Robinson, Tyson, or Sermon. Start one in a standard league. In a standard league? Whew. In a standard league. That's interesting. So basically, I do have a standard league that I play in, and the question that I always ask myself is who's going to score, the touchdown, who's going to be the best guy for yards. So for me, I think it's probably Trey Sermon against the Packers. He's going to get the most touches. There's really not another healthy back on the team. So I think Trey Sermon might be the guy that I start here. If I had to rank them, I'm going to say Sermon, Tyson, J-Rob. Cobra, man, thanks for hanging out. Pick one: James Robinson, Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson, Debo, Scary Terry, or Mike Williams in full PPR. Pick one? Just one? Oh, my God. I don't know if Henderson's going to play. Even if he does play, it's Tampa Bay. I'm going to ignore the three running backs here because I think Debo, Terry, or Mike Williams are your best options here. So in full PPR, I really don't think you can lose. Whatever, if you pick Debo's, Terry, or Mike Williams, I think those are probably the three best options. I really like Mike Williams the way he's been playing right now. He's wide receiver 5 on the season right now, so that feels really good. But if you just stick to kind of projections and whatnot, I think you would rank them, especially because it's full PPR. I would say it's probably Debo, Terry, Mike Williams. I hope that helps. But really, if you chose any of those 3 wide receivers, I think you're going to be happy. They both seem to be really good options this week. So again, Debo, Terry, Mike Williams is probably how I would rank it. I got Gronk, just needed a backup. Okay, so yeah, you're in good shape. I do like James Robinson. Again, I just looked at the schedule for the Jaguars. It's going to open up. They play Cincinnati and the Tennessee Titans next week, so maybe that's where we get some TDs. Green Bay money line or Vikings money line? I don't have the book open, but right now, if I had to choose, I'd probably take the Packers money line because it's probably going to pay out more than the Vikings. I think the Vikings are favored to lose by 2, and the Packers are favored to lose by 4.5. So I think Packers probably pay out better. Henderson or Gaskin this week, leaning Gaskin. I'm going to lean the same way. It's Tampa Bay, and Henderson's dinged up. We might see more Sony Michel than we expected, so I'm going to lean with Gaskin as well. And then, yeah, Green Bay. We're going Green Bay here. So we're going on about 32 minutes. I'll hang out for 2 more minutes. I got some places to be tonight. We're going to go to a festival in a little bit here. So I have to pack up and get out of here in a few minutes. So get your final questions in. I'll try to get to all of them before I head out. Justin asks, KJ Osborne, Melvin Gordon, or Quintez Cephas, or Kenny Gallaudet? Start 2. So 2 wide receivers excite me more. Quintez Cephas, I want to see it before I believe it, so I'm going to cross him off the list. I think Kenny Gallaudet is probably the guy that has the highest ceiling of all of these guys. And then since you're playing Kenny Gallaudet, if you want to just lock in, I think Gordon's a lock for 8 to 10 points tomorrow. So if you want to play it safe, go with Gordon. But if you want some sneaky upside, I think KJ Osborne, he's been on fire the last 2 weeks. I think what excites me the most, like if this was my lineup, I'm probably going to fire up Kenny G and KJ Osborne. But if you want to put Melvin Gordon in there, I get it. He's a safe 8 to 10 points. Gibson, Marvin Jones, or Devonta Smith. I'm going to go with Gibson. He feels the safest. Marvin Jones is still a Jaguar last time I checked, so I don't – he's looked good the last 2 weeks, but I think Gibson excites me the most. But if you wanted some Monday Night Magic, maybe holding out for Devonta Smith could be the right call. I'm a Gibson guy. I think Gibson's going to get back on track this week and hopefully hit 18 to 20 touches. Looks like Mello starts. Yes. We'll see here. I appreciate it. And yeah, we're going to try to do this stream. I think Saturday nights are the best night. Next Saturday night, I'm not going to be able to do it. So I think we'll probably do this stream on Friday night next week. But if you guys are new to the channel, Tuesday nights is waiver wire night. Wednesday night, we're going to do the first start sit show where I just open up the practice reports and we'll kind of go through everything that I have there. So if you guys need something to do for Tuesday night for the waiver wire show, we do a live stream at 7 p.m. Central. And Wednesday night, I do a 7 p.m. stream as well. And then I'm trying to do a Friday night or a Saturday stream. It just depends on my schedule. So the problem is Debo is covered by Jair Alexander. Terry's covered by Tre'Davious White. Mahomes against Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, Jair Alexander, he doesn't really shadow the number. So like I live in Milwaukee. I'm a big Green Bay fan. I watch the Packer games every Sunday. Jair, he sticks to one side. So the 49ers are a little bit more creative. They move Debo around. So there's maybe 30-40% of the time Jair will be on him. So I guess I get the hesitation on Debo, whereas Terry McLaurin. Let me look up one more thing here. I want to go to my website StatMuse. And I just want to look up, see if Terry McLaurin has played against the Buffalo Bills before. So Terry had one game against them his rookie year. He went 4 for 39. But again, that was his rookie year. So maybe the best play is Mike Williams. If this is, trying to avoid cornerbacks, the Chiefs don't have the best corners. I just think Mike Williams has a big role in that offense. So if you're feeling comfortable with Mike Williams, man, that's what I would do. I get Mike Williams in all my lineups any week that I can. But you got the good news is you have some really good wide receivers here, and I think maybe the safest play is maybe Mike Williams. He's technically the hottest hand at the moment right now. So I like Big Mike. Would you start Darnell Mooney, Jacoby, or Will Fuller? Whew. I'm going to go with Darnell Mooney there, Mr. Eduardo. I'm going to go with Mooney. He gets the most snaps in that Bears offense. It's Justin Fields. We can maybe see him on Cork one. And Mooney's got the safest floor. It's probably 9 to 10 PPR points. So assuming PPR, I'll go with Mooney. And then Timofey says, Corey Davis, Jacoby, Zach Pascal, Cephas, pick one, standard, Deontay and T. Yeah, man, I'm a big T Higgins guy, so I'm pretty disappointed that I'm not getting T Higgins in my lineup. But if I had to play one guy here, the safest play is probably Jacoby Myers. So if you just want to take the single and get your 7 to 10 points, Jacoby is the safest. If you want some high upside, I think Corey Davis would be the next guy here. And then I'm still kind of nervous about Pascal in that passing game for Carson Wentz. And then Cephas, again, I answered a question about Cephas earlier. I need to see more. It was just kind of the one big game or the one big play in the touchdown from last week. So if I'm going to rank them, the safest play is Jacoby Myers. And that's just like, hey, I want my 7 to 10 points. I don't want, a 0 from Corey Davis or anything crazy. But between the two, if you want safe, go Jacoby. If you want upside, go with Corey Davis. And yeah, thank you guys. This was a fun show tonight. We'll look forward to doing this again next week, but I don't know. I think I'm all out of time and questions. Thank you guys so much. You guys are a huge part of the show, and that's why I love hanging out with you guys and answering questions. So good luck tomorrow. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.